readers,
reviewers,
countrymen,
lend us your ears.
And a huge thank you to all of our Patreons.
Thank you to the Pit Fighters, the First Swords, and all of the Bright Stars, Truth and Courage.
Hello and welcome to the channel today. We recently did a video talking about books we've read because the other brother recommended them and what we thought on them. So some controversial views there, mostly good. We saw that we have an understanding for one another. Today we're talking about the next books we'd like the other brother to read. In fact, 10 books, so 5 each.
Yeah.
And so these are the ones that I really think Ed will really like and the ones that Ed thinks I will really enjoy. We'll talk about why that is, whether it's one we think could become a favourite, and just move on from there.
Basically, I'm going to give Will an offer he cannot refuse. You'll come here on the day.
I was going to see if I left out how many quotes we'd go into.
Yeah, I could keep going.
Ed, let's talk about your first one.
The very first one is There by Tommy Orange. Now, I've chosen this book because, number one, it's one of my favourites. Reason number two is
Makes sense.
that I know that William will absolutely love this because he's a big fan of Stephen King. He's a big fan of, I believe, Joe Hill. He's a big fan of that style of prose, I believe, and Tommy Orange just really reminds me of Stephen King at his very best. Now, not in terms of the supernatural, not in terms of maybe the spookiness, but in terms of getting into a vast array of characters, into their heads, seeing how they associate with one another. So it's about lots of different Native Americans who are living in this area, and they, at the end of the book, are all heading towards a powwow, which is basically a celebration of Native history and culture. And Native Americans hold powwows for lots of different reasons, but mainly to celebrate, what their culture, basically, their heritage. And it's quite a big affair. Lots of different people have different jobs within the powwow, and seeing how all of these characters ending up there, seeing their lives play out, seeing how they're friends or with one another, or they hate each other, or they're lovers, and it's quite remarkable how it's written, the way that Tommy Orange gets into their heads, and you immediately have an understanding of their history, of their identity, and you see how it changes throughout the book. And the last act is one of the most tense things I've ever read. The climax is utterly incredible. It's also at times incredibly sad and very heartbreaking. Also other times it's really, really funny. It's got quite the balance of life, I find, and it's just one of those books that is a masterpiece when you're reading it, and I think Will would get a lot out of it. So Will, There by Tommy Orange is going to be one of your new favourites.
It is one that's actually been on my list for quite a while, and what you said, that relationship with Stephen King, of course not in terms of supernatural, but getting in the minds of so many, I think so few authors can do that. Mainly, it's difficult to make one character come to life, let alone 10, and make them all feel compelling within a short page time. And so I'm looking forward to picking that up. And it's not a huge chunker, so maybe sooner than you think, because I do need some to fill in the weapons of books that I have.
It's a great palate cleanser as well. I think it's a book that you can pick up at any time, and you can get a lot out of it. And it's just something that will, maybe like Glorious Exploits, I would recommend it to so many different people. And it's got so much going for it that I think everyone would get something out of it.
Okay. Now, something a little bit... Oh, I'll keep it then. Something a little bit of the opposite, really. You said it's something you'd recommend to everyone. Buffalo Hunter is something I would recommend to a specific type of reader. This is a book that I really think if you like it, you will love it. And you'll realise within the first 50 pages if it isn't a book for you. Once you get to the second perspective, you kind of know. And I think that's really good, because then if you DNF it, it's not really an insult. It's just, already it's not a book that you will enjoy. You don't have to go to the 300 page mark to find out and then still dislike it. So you realise quite early on, Buffalo Hunter is horror meets history, following what I remember Joe Abercrombie saying, that nothing is darker than history. So that is really true in here, but there's adding a supernatural element as well, as kind of metaphorical summary of a lot of what happened.
What is the supernatural element?
I probably won't say, because even though it is in the blurb, some people have said that it's better going in without knowing that, and so I won't say, but that is the supernatural. I always think it's important to know that.
You did read this straight after you watched Sinners, So maybe that has something to do with it.
Horror. Same genre. But Stephen Graham Jones, first book I've read by him, he wrote The Only Good Indians, which I have not read.
Yeah.
This is the first one of his I've picked up. He's got a very distinctive writing style. I've heard it changes quite a lot book by book, so he's one that he really, really works on his craft.
Yeah.
And I think it shows here. We've got this balancing act of a chronicler's tale, but someone's telling their story to someone else, and you've got that unreliable narrator. What are they hiding? What are they divulging? And you don't always learn the information in a chronological order because you're jumping from different timelines. And so there's a lot here which are devices that often aren't used in literature, which they're all brought into Buffalo Hunter Hunter, which makes it feel very unique, very fresh, very engaged. We've read a lot of great stuff recently, but also you don't want to fall into the trap of reading kind of the same things done again. Yeah. That's been a bit of a critique of the fantasy genre lately. There's lots that we found that we've loved, but pushing it in new directions, new subgenres, new ways of reinventing the wheel.
I think genre burnout is a real thing, and we've noticed that with some of our friends on the Discord as well. When you kind of prioritize purely fantasy, very quickly the wind can be taken from your sails, especially if you're going from reading like Malazan to like R. Scott Baker and other things like that. It takes a lot out of you because these vast worlds, you know? And I think keeping up your genre, keeping it fresh, choosing something from a different genre, or even like Buffalo Hunter Hunter, which sounds like a mixture of different genres where it sits in between them. I love a Venn diagram, don't you?
Yeah,
and when it's in the middle of the Venn,
Chef's kiss.
That's my version of a chef's kiss.
Very nice, Ed. But yeah, you're completely right. I think I found it with historical fiction. There's a lot of historical fiction follows the same framework, and each of them I recognise great in their own way, but each one was kind of diminishing because I'd read the others so recently. And so I think this will really be a palate cleanser for you, Ed. I think it's one that you will absolutely love. It's centred in a period of history that you're very interested in, a very tragic part of history as well, Native American history, the assimilation with the American government, and some of the tragedies and massacres are engaged with and explored in Buffalo Hunter Hunter, and the history that's been erased as well as what has survived.
Powerful stuff, Will.
And so kind of the question of memory is very important in this as well. I think you'll love it, Ed. Check out my short review if you want a bit more details on that.
Yeah, check out Will's very short review. And the next one for me is The Count of Monte Cristo. And the last book
I talked about chunkers.
Was a
Turn it
small book.
sideways.
This one is 1,200, just over 1,200 pages. Yeah, 1,250 pages, I'm
Nice.
afraid. But this is actually the most recent, I believe, addition to my list. And it is incredible. This is the best classic I think I will ever read. It's taken Moby Dick over.
Dracula?
Yeah, Moby Dick was my favourite, but yeah.
Wow.
Count of Monte Cristo is just incredible. And when you read this book, you kind of see it. This is like The Well, and you see so much of literature, so much of even film and TV, like beats in storytelling have come from The Count of Monte Cristo. It's such a powerful book, and it is like a masterclass in tension, in relationships, in revenge. We love revenge. We love Orca. We love Macquin. We love so many other characters who focus on Rwenge.
Yeah,
vengeance.
the theme of injustice I think is what angers me the most.
Yes.
So when you're avenging...
That's good, because I read books to feel things.
Yeah.
And if that angers you, you're going to feel something. The Count of Monte Cristo is just written perfectly, and it has the perfect prose where it's so digestible but also really poignant and powerful. And I found myself rereading things out of just for the sheer need to, the sheer want to.
Yeah.
Which I love that. I've written down a lot of quotes from The Count of Monte Cristo, but it also just has such a deep understanding of pacing and the way to fulfill the reader, their expectations. I think you'll love it, Will, and I think it will be catapulted into your favourites of all time. So The Count of Monte Cristo is an amazing book. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you loved it, Ed.
Check
a
it
classic added to the list.
Yes.
But talking about feeling things, I've got a recommendation for you. One that Sadie has been recommending to you as well. That is The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah. This is set in World War II. It's about the women who often...
Thought you were going to say Fourth Wing, Will.
No, not quite. I haven't got to that
I know you do
yet.
like that book.
I actually haven't got to it yet, but I am actually thinking of picking it up, seeing what's the fuss about.
Yeah, and you'll probably put it straight back down, but at least you can pick it up.
You never know, Ed. Never say
you never
never.
know, I know.
But The Nightingale, this is World War II, focused on two sisters who come into conflict with each other. Their stories kind of stray, but they're intertwined and have very different roles and experiences in the occupation of France. So they're French sisters. One goes towards Paris, one is living a bit more on the outskirts of France.
Yeah.
In a smaller town. And it's World War II. It's pretty horrifying. It's very, very tense. It's one that will definitely make you feel. But it's one I always find it's a fine line, especially with history so recent as World War II.
Yeah.
To be respectful.
Yeah.
Without just, obviously it's respectful to learn about the tragedies and everything that's happened in World War II, but then not to dramatise it as well. I think that there was a very fine line struck in The Nightingale, and I think it was struck well where it showed how horrifying these experiences were, but with a lesson along as well. I think it's very compelling, wonderfully written, really powerful writer, really smooth prose, and characters that at first I thought they stood out as like good characters, but I didn't see anything incredible about them, and then about the halfway mark they suddenly became really, really vivid.
Yeah.
So I recommend The Nightingale.
Yeah, Sadie has been recommending that one as well. She'll be very
and another
happy
standalone
to see it on the list. And it's one of those books that you just feel like everyone either has read or wants to read it.
Yeah.
It's a book that, should be... It's a modern classic.
Exactly. Yeah,
Thank you
it
very
is.
much. And the next one for me is I wanted to give Will a Cormac McCarthy book. And judging by Will's tastes, I don't think all of them would be great recommendations for you. Because although you seem to enjoy all of Cormac McCarthy's works from what you've read so far, you do particularly love the books where there is a theme of hope.
Yeah.
There is a theme of pretty much hope. A little bit of lightness. A lamp in the dark, as it were. Like you love The Road.
Yeah.
The Road is your favourite McCarthy book.
Yeah.
So I would say the next best thing, so Cormac McCarthy's best protagonist is Billy Parham from The Crossing. And I would say the first third of this book is probably the best thing that's ever been written. And it's incredible. And this is the only McCarthy book
Buckle up
to make me cry.
That's a big thing to say.
It's incredible. The 2/3 after that, they do detract from the whole book. But I would say if you chopped... But they are very strict parts. So there is a time gap between the parts.
But do you still enjoy second and third?
You still enjoy second and third, but because the part one is so good.
Yeah.
It's like, imagine if there was, like, The Road was just half of the book and the second half was completely different.
Okay.
Like, it kind of doesn't reflect the same themes. But also, you and I are animal lovers. And there is a wolf in this. And it is...
Oh, no.
It's taken in a very unique direction. I will say that. But it's incredible.
What do you mean?
It's taken in a very unique direction. It's Cormac McCarthy's best writing, I would say. But also his most lovable character in Billy.
Very nice.
And it's actually really funny at points as well. But yeah, McCarthy. There you go. You got to read some
Yeah,
more.
because I will be reading it soon.
I was toying with Outer Dark because... Like that prose, you will be sucked in.
Adaptation soon, isn't
there? And adaptation soon as well. But I do think The Crossing is the one for you next.
I will be reading it soon because I'm potentially going to write a dissertation on Cormac McCarthy. I actually have a meeting later this week about it.
Very nice.
So we will see about that. But next up, I have got The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett.
Oh, is this the Sherlock Holmes
Yes,
thing?
but it's not just about Sherlock Holmes.
No, I will say, there's been a couple of times I mentioned it. Every time you talk about this book, the premise to me doesn't pull me in. But when you talk about the book, it does excite me a little bit.
I do also think it's one of those that I feel really excited about reading fantasy after reading it because I'm like, wow. There is so much room still to expand. Yeah. Really unique characters. I think it's really easy to read.
Is it a Venn diagram book? It's in the middle.
It is, yeah. Nice. And it's very fresh. It's a bit like M.H.I. Inde's recent release, really fresh fantasy. And The Tainted Cup falls into the same region in that way. The eschatological kind of threat,
You've lost me there.
Leviathans that are about to destroy everything. Yeah. And you feel kind of powerless.
Oh, you've lost me there now. I was going to keep going on.
But you feel kind of powerless in one way, but then it shows a very small part of this empire, and I like that it does remain... Okay. It remains quite intimate, which I really enjoy, whilst with a epic exterior and some very epic events.
Is it a 5-star book for me, Will?
It could be. It could be.
Could be or
Could
will
be.
be.
This is one that
How
I think...
confident do you feel?
I think 4.5 stars, but it's going to have the bonus of reinvigorating your desire to read more fantasy.
Wow.
So it's got a compound effect.
Yeah.
You know, where you're going to feel more sentimental about it than the actual reading experience.
Okay.
I think it's very valuable in that way as well. So
it
lesson learned.
It gives a lot of extra stuff.
It does.
Is there a book recently that you've read that has pushed you back onto more fantasy? Would you say it's The Tainted Cup? Because I'd say that I was on a fantasy burnout, and then I read The Daughter's War, and that inspired me to read so much more fantasy.
Blood Over Bright Haven.
Yeah.
I would say I'm not really feeling, huge desire to read a lot of fantasy at the moment. I think the fantasy books I've got lined up are ones I've had for quite a while, and I'm really excited to read them.
Yeah.
The Will of the Many, carry on with the Greenbone Saga.
Yeah.
Dead House Gates at the moment.
Slay, Will.
So I think that whilst I'm going to be reading a lot of fantasy over summer, they're ones that have been on the list for about a year, and a lot are I'm partway through the series.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
not live ships.
And that as well. Robin Hobb, it just makes you think you can't beat it. It's just so good.
Talking of live ships, I'm joking. I would never put that on the list because I don't want you to read them, Will.
Oh, that is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
That's not true.
Because what are we going to talk about?
Yeah, exactly. We'd have Nish to talk about. Between Two Fires by Christopher Buehlman is a crazy book. Now, again, this is in the middle of a Venn diagram, Will. It has fantasy, historical fiction, and horror all mixed into one. I think this is the medieval version of the Buffalo Hunter x Hunter, which obviously I haven't read. I'm making it up purely. Between Two Fires is Christopher Buehlman at his closest to The Daughter's War.
Okay.
And knowing your taste, you love The Daughter's War.
Have you read anything else
favourite
by him other than
The Black Tongue Thief? No, but I'm
Daughter's War?
going to be reading his vampire book.
That's the
and
next
his
one I'm reading by
werewolf
him.
book this summer.
Okay.
I recently rejigged the TBR because I planned the TBR out for the year, and I've
Crazy,
done
man.
really well. But there are a couple that I missed out in May, and I've just decided to have a little switcheroo because I think that's healthy.
Yeah,
I think
is
it's
healthy.
But Christopher Buehlman, this is his prose closest to The Daughter's War. This is the medieval period, the 100 Years' War. We have a disgraced knight, and he is escorting a girl for a reason he's not really aware of. He just feels drawn to this girl, but he's escorting her to Paris. But there is something kind of supernatural, otherworldly about her.
Okay.
And you then quickly are thrust into this world of gods and angels and demons and hell on earth. It feels a bit like the manga Berserk, which I know that you've heard about. I did almost put Berserk on this list instead of this, but I do think you would enjoy Between Two Fires a lot more.
Okay.
It has some incredible set pieces that blow Hercules out of the water, basically. The cartoon, great.
Okay.
Just basically the monsters it has in it is really incredible, and Buehlman's prose is fantastic, and there are a couple of funny moments as well. He is quite a naturally funny writer. But it's just so good. And is it self-published? It doesn't have the mark of a...
I don't think so.
I think it is, Will.
Really?
Yeah, look.
Wow.
There you go, straight into... I think it's self-published, to be
Don't know
honest.
how I've never heard about that, then.
Which blows my mind because of how good it is.
Is it his first book, or...?
No, it's not his first book. I think it's his most popular book, to be honest.
Okay.
On Goodreads, which is crazy. So, but good for him. Christopher Buehlman, amazing writer, amazing guy as well. And I want to read a lot more by him.
Very nice. Book 4 that I'm recommending to Ed is Horns by Joe Hill. You mentioned him earlier. It's very Stephen King-esque in a kind of group dynamic, but there's one key POV. We've got this guy. His girlfriend was killed a few years before. He's having a rough time. He went out for a very heavy night out. He wakes up. He goes to the bathroom, splashes his face with some water. He looks up. And he's got horns on his head. Yeah. That's just not what you want in the morning.
I've been there, mate. I've been there.
He's at such a low point, he just thinks...
You drunk a lot of Guinness.
I've cracked.
You wake up with horns.
I know. He thinks, I've cracked. I just need to go to the hospital because obviously this isn't real.
Yeah.
And I'm now having illusions. Hallucinating. So he started going to the hospital, but he talked to some people, and on the way, they start just divulging their deepest, darkest secret, and he realises there may be a link. Maybe. And so this becomes a detective story in some ways of finding out what happened to his girlfriend. And we jump between two timelines, him growing up and then him in the present day. And it's very dark in some ways, but it's also quite satirical. A lot of dark humour as people just suddenly reveal terrible things that they've thought. Some very humorous, some very dark. Everyone has their dark secrets that they don't voice, as Joe Hill said. And so this is what would be said if they're brought to light.
Do you?
Well, you'll see some of the things they say.
Okay. I have seen the film. Is it better than the film?
It's meant to be... Like, I haven't seen the film, but apparently the film's okay. The book's brilliant.
Okay, cool.
According to Papa Gwynne, it's Joe Hill's best book that he's read, and it's exceptional. I might put it above any Stephen King book I've read. Bold words. And it's apt timing because Joe Hill was coming out with another book this year.
Better than Salem's Lot?
Yeah, in my opinion, yeah.
Wow. Is that your favourite Stephen King book?
I'm not sure. I've read some great Stephen King books. Probably not. Maybe Misery is up there. I know you didn't click as much of that. Yeah. Maybe Pet Sematary.
Yeah, see, I like animals too much to be terrified of them.
Have you watched Pet Sematary?
No, but I've heard of what it's about.
Have you read Pet Sematary?
No, but I've heard what it's about.
Very compelling, very powerful.
I think my favourite Stephen King's Apt Pupil.
That is fantastic. His best short story, I think.
Yeah.
I preferred it over Shawshank Redemption.
Me too. I wasn't mad on Shawshank. Rita Hayworth's Body or something.
Yeah.
I was not mad on that as a short story, but I do love The Body.
Oh, okay.
Great short story.
Yeah.
Stand By Me, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Lovely, Will. And the last one for me is returning to fantasy. Now, I know that you're saying you're not in the massive mood to read fantasy, but this book will drag you along and it will force you to enjoy it. And it is Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. Now, Jay Kristoff has quickly become one of my favourite authors. So I read Empire of the Vampire, Empire of the Damned this year, and Nevernight. And all three of them, 5 stars, like the best that fantasy can offer.
Have you finished this series yet?
No, but I'm going to be reading book 2 and 3 back to back next month.
Perfect.
So I've heard that God's Grave is his best book, to be honest. Is meant to be incredible. But you just know when you vibe with someone's style of storytelling and their prose and his understanding of character, motivations and history, and when to kind of bleed in some information about them and when to have this animal sidekick appear and stuff like that. And it's just brilliant. It's fantastic. It is kind of a little bit edgy. It's a little, a little bit edgelord kind of stuff. But Jay gets away with it. I don't think there's many people that can get away with it. It's kind of like Tarantino. Not everyone could do a Tarantino film.
No.
Not everyone could have, Inglourious Bastards where someone, shoots Hitler and stuff like that. Rewriting history. There's very few people in the world who can actually get away with it. Jay is there.
One of those.
He's one of those people who can get away with it.
It always seems like he has so much fun with it.
It seems like he's
serious
having a
as
great time. It doesn't take itself too seriously.
Yeah.
But it also has this gravitas.
It's got a weight to it.
Exactly. Yeah. Mia Corvette is a brilliant character. One of the few kind of youthful protagonists that I've read that really is unique and kind of adapts to her environment and is willing to... she's not insufferable, which a lot are, aren't they? So, yeah, I think you would really love Nevernight, Will, because Jay is just such a strong writer, and you very quickly, you'll forget that you're, anything about whatever, your to-do list, your shopping list, and you'll just want to read Nevernight.
Very nice, then. Is that your last one?
That's my last one.
Wow. And now my last one is Man's Search for Meaning. This was recommended to us by Chris and Mads. Thank you.
Are you stealing their recommendation?
I am, and I'm now recommending it to you.
I mean,
so
two
all of
birds
us
with
are
one
ganging
stone
up
if
on
I
you.
read it. So,
exactly. Yeah. This is non-fiction, and it's basically a collection of learnings that Viktor Frankl learned. He had his life is absolutely tragic. He was in the Holocaust, and he survived. And he was writing... He didn't really want to divulge his own personal story, but I think he realised that if he did, his findings would be much more powerful because it's almost like evidence for him. Looking at what human beings are capable of, looking at the strength of humanity, and how someone who went through so many terrible things turns it into almost a positive of showing the strength of humanity rather than the deprivation is inspiring on its own, yet alone everything else that comes with it. There's a lot of powerful learnings, a lot of motivations, a lot of inspirations, and this is one that really resonated with me and has stuck with me. I really think about it a lot. And I just think Ed is one that everyone should read.
Pretty deep stuff, Will.
It is,
Thank you. Lots of serious books there, but
Yeah.
I am very much looking forward to reading them.
I think that will change your life.
And we'll do a video in the future about our thoughts and feelings about these books, but I'm sure that we'll get a lot out of them. So thank you, Will.
Thank you, Ed. But everyone, thank you so much for watching today. Let us know if there's any books you'd like us to read. Is there any that people recommend you that you're finally going to pick up? And let us know if you'd like us to review any of these once we get around to them. Because we both would have read them then, and we can do a review.
Well, we're definitely going to do a review of The Nightingale with Sadie. You and I will do... Oh, no, you've already done one of Buffalo Hunter Hunter.
Well, yeah,
I can't even jump in on that.
No, it was only a 3-minute review. We could do a longer one.
Yeah, it was just...
If you enjoy it enough.
We could drag it out to 6.
Yeah.
Anyway, Truth and Courage, The Brothers Gwynne.
The Brothers Gwynne.